Hello and welcome back to Sprite Guard Plays HyperRogue. I'm going into this with a little bit more energy and a little bit more certainty because I just finished recording Umihara Kawase, and that does two things. First of all, that means that I don't have to worry about the variety that I'm going to have this week. I know that I'm going to have a story about my uncle, I know that I'm going to have Umihara Kawase, and so if I can get an episode of HyperRogue recorded too, then everything will be great. Also, it means I just played Umihara Kawase, so I'm in a great mood. So let's see if we can bring about a Hyperstone victory. That is the only thing that we really have left unconquered. So that's going to be very challenging, and I don't actually have a lot of confidence that we'll be able to do it today. But we can try, we can give it a shot, and at the very least we will learn some things and make a little bit of progress. Make a little bit of progress towards our goal. I have been kind of doing some training in this game, trying to get better at speedrunning the Yendor quest, and really becoming comfortable with the amount of randomness in this game. It really becomes noticeable when you start trying to do things quickly, and it becomes very important where the first key you find is. Because when you do a speedrun, basically what you want to do is, as soon as you're able to, find an Orb of Yendor that has a key in a place that you can get to easily. And so I've been looking at different strategies for making that happen a little bit more quickly and easily. But there's still a really large random component in everything in this game, and that's just really put into focus by trying to do things quickly. But today we're not trying to do things quickly. Today we are trying to make some progress, get a little bit further than we have in the past, and see what we can do. So we don't actually have to worry about how fast we can go. We can be a little bit careful. We need one more spice from this area, and then I would like to head into this living cave right here, but there are so many guys after me that I may end up going elsewhere. Let's see if we can kind of lose some of these desert men or fight them off. Just clear a little bit of area around us. We can head into this crossroads at the very least, and that should give us access to any of the starting areas. I don't want to go into the jungle too soon. I actually want to save that for a little bit later when we've unlocked the Orb of Speed, and possibly some other orbs. I think going into that with some orbs behind us will be really useful, and we may actually end up going in there with the Orb of Yendor if we are able to, because that will give us, I think it's random which orb powers it gives us, but it will give us a lot of power in a few different orbs. So depending on what we get from that, we may want to go into the jungle then. To actually get the Orb of Yendor, I want to do a little bit of a different route. I want to go more like what we would do to get into Camelot. Because the Emerald Mines have some properties that make them really good for trying to find a key. The miners that show up in there are pretty frequent, and when you kill them, they leave a dark mark on the floor that you can use to find your way. So I am kind of hopeful that we will find a key that is in the Emerald Mine, and we won't have to go to the graveyard right away. I was hoping I could keep... One problem that I have been running into in the Mirrored Land recently is my images picking up treasures, which prevents me from picking them up. And so that's just been happening a lot recently. Now, eagles are still problematic, but as long as we stay on top of them, they should be just fine. And I do want to be a little bit cautious, a little bit slow a little bit careful, and I want to really just take my time and make sure that I am enjoying... Whoa, that's a lot of status messages. And we have 2 eagles coming after us. This is actually really dangerous. So I want to use my images to try and take one of them out as I move away from the other one. And then we can move towards this one and fight it individually. You do get an achievement. I believe I've gotten it on this on this version of the game already, though I don't remember if it was on camera. You get an achievement for killing 2 or 3 monsters with your images. Now, as I mentioned, we do not want to go into the jungle just yet, so let us try and find a different area to go to. So I'm feeling pretty good. I am coming out of a very difficult week, really rough at work, and just a lot of kind of other difficulties on top of that, insomnia, and frustration with not being able to record as much for the channel as I would have liked to. So this week I'm kind of going into it a little bit fresher, a little bit stronger, and knowing that I have a certain amount of variety lined up, because I have the Umihara Kawase recorded and ready, and I have a story about my uncle recorded and ready, and so as much as I am eager to get this video done and uploaded, if I don't, that's fine. This video is already what I would consider extra. And so there's no concern about there being too much HyperRogue on the channel this week. That's not something that I am at all worried about, even though I don't know. It may be that there still is too much HyperRogue on the channel. It may be that there's not enough HyperRogue on the channel. That is kind of something that I think everybody has to decide for themselves. And I am probably the worst person to ask about that, because I don't actually watch my own videos all that much. And because I really enjoy doing this game. I really enjoy all of the different challenges that we can do in this game. And so I don't actually feel like there can ever be too much HyperRogue. But at the same time, I am so much thinking about sort of the audience and trying to second guess myself that I think it's probably causing more problems than it solves. But that's always present there. It's something that I'm always thinking about. And I don't know if that is more a good or a bad thing. I'm not seeing any exits that we can actually get into the crossroads with, but I believe this should get us in, yes. So now we can head into the Land of Eternal Motion. And this is an area that actually got patched not too long ago. It was, I was reading some of the discussion about speedrunning this game, trying to pick up some new strategies, and I did pick up some new ideas that I think will be pretty useful, but one of the things that they talked about being very valuable to speedrunning is, it used to be that you could just run around in the Land of Eternal Motion, and once dogs were not able to catch you, they would continue to pursue you and fall off of the cliff. And so you could rack up a lot of kills very quickly. But now you can see they will actually start to move backwards if they're no longer able to reach us. And so it is more difficult to actually kill the running dogs without leaving the Land of Eternal Motion. Now I would like to stay near this crossroads, and we're actually going to manage to do that. So we can head out, grab this Orb of Flash and this Orb of Shielding, and that should let us get in here, and let's see, that gets us the last Phoenix Feather, so we are done there. Now, where are we going? I believe we still have the jungle, the vineyard, the forest. I think the forest is the place we need to go next. We do need the flowers from the forest in order to get the emeralds, And we will need the emeralds for a Hyperstone victory, and as I believe I mentioned, I've done so many takes of this at this point that I can't remember what I have talked about and what I have not talked about. But we need emeralds, because I want to try to find an Orb of Yendor with its key in the Emerald Mine. So that is something that I will be looking out for. And I think we only need 5 flowers from the forest in order to get the Emerald Mine, but we need 10 for the Hyperstone victory. So because that is the direction that we're trying to go in, I'm going to try to get 10 fern flowers. We're also going to need statues and grimoires from Relia, so that's something else I'm going to be a little bit concerned about. And I think because we have Relia right here, we might want to duck into it, especially with this fire coming up behind us. This gives us an opportunity to escape and sort of regroup and do something productive. We can still get stuff done and let that fire just burn away. We can find a different forest somewhere else to collect the remainder of the flowers that we need. So that's pretty much everything that I can say about our strategic situation at the moment. Now I'm kind of just starting to be a little bit worried about not remembering what I have covered in this episode and what I have not. Like, I'm really starting to forget. I've done so many takes. And this game is just kind of like that. This game has a lot of randomness, and there are a lot of sort of instant death situations that you can get into situations where it's very difficult to escape, and especially, you know, when I'm talking like this and not always paying the best attention to what exactly I'm doing, it's very easy to get trapped in situations that I cannot get out of. Now, we have an option here. We can go into the vineyard, the crossroads, or into this temple here. And because we have to get grimoires for the Hyperstone victory, I think that we probably want to go into the temple. And I'm going to try to sort of arrange the statues in ways that will protect us a little bit. Now, of course, I really like the temple because of this kind of nested structure. Can't actually remember if we got one from that layer. It's difficult for me to remember sometimes which layers we've been to in the temple. But I really like the whole mechanic of not being able to get more than one treasure from each layer. I think that adds a really nice sort of progression that you don't get elsewhere in the game. And it kind of adds this very different challenge that I think I've talked about. I think I talked about it a little bit in the Grimoire challenge. That it's really a different feel, and I really like that. And I am starting to wander a little bit. I do have a little bit of a different plan for how I'm going to break this episode up. Basically, I'm going to use an Orb of Safety to give myself a little bit more leeway with my breaks. I used an Orb of Safety in the last full episode, but I ended up... Basically what happened was I loaded that save, played it live on Twitch, and did not know that the whole time the sound was messed up. And so basically wasn't able to use that, because streaming for Twitch, that happens sometimes, and I just realized I am well on the way to a Grimoire high score, which I was not at all intending. So we should probably try and get out of here before we get completely surrounded. Now there's an Orb of the Dragon that can actually be useful for blocking off the way behind us and giving ourselves a little bit more leeway, especially since these cult leaders can move the statues, and so we can't block them off in the way that we normally would. So because I kind of wasn't paying enough attention, we're going to have to exit more layers of the temple than we may have otherwise if I'd been paying more attention. But that's okay, we can get out. Getting out of the temple is easier than getting into the temple, I think. It's much more direct, and there's no need to look for grimoires, because we already have one from all of the levels that we're going through. And I did not actually mean to throw fire there, so that was a bit of a mistake, but not a really bad one, because we were about to run out of Dragon Breath anyway. So we've got a cult leader coming up behind us. We are back out to the surface, so now we just want to find an exit is all that we have left, and preferably an exit into the forest, because we need to get the rest of our fern flowers. Now this orb of teleport, I think I want to use to kind of put a little bit of distance between myself and these enemies coming at me from a couple different directions, and I was trying to click like way out on the border here, and I actually accidentally clicked outside of the border. There, I did it again. So let's see where we can do it. There we go. Alright, so we have a graveyard available to us, which we do need to collect totems, so that may be a worthwhile thing to do. And it looks like we have a crossroads available as well, though. So now, let's see, Orb of Safety, that could take us someplace completely different, but we don't actually have any need to do that just yet. I actually do want to check the time. Alright, 17 minutes, that's not too bad. I do want to get the rest of the fern flowers. So that is going to be the next thing that we do. And we need 3 more. Maybe we can stay within sight of this crossroads. Possibly find our way back to that Orb of Safety, though that's not super likely. And that's 8, 9, and 10. And we can get a double stab there, though we've already gotten the achievement for it. And hey, we're right back to our Orb of Safety. So, that is where I am going to leave it off. This will be the first portion. The next thing we're going to be doing is going into the Emerald Mine. And after that, we will probably be going around to some of the other areas. We do have Hell unlocked, so we will be attempting to get an Orb of Yendor. We won't be pushing really hard for it, but we will be keeping an eye out because it can give us a lot of bonuses. We'll also be looking to get into the vineyard and all of the other areas that we have not yet been to. So that will be in the next episode of HyperRogue. So, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.